Good morning, boys and girls. My name is Miss Quinn, and I am your host. This is your teacher, Miss Julie. Today, we will learn all about the Vikings.
Hi, boys and girls. We're so glad you joined us today to learn about the Vikings. Hold on, Miss Quinn. I have something for you. Here, put this on, and you can be a Viking just like me. And, by the way, Miss Quinn, I hope you don't get seasick because we are going to be traveling by ship just like the Vikings, the long ships. And boys and girls, we're traveling all the way to Scandinavia. Here on the globe, we can see that that is the present day Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. So you can see a lot of oceans surround that area. So we will be traveling by ship. Don't get seasick, Miss Quinn. And by the time we make it to Scandinavia, we will know who the Vikings were, we will know where they're from, and we will know all about their travels. We're going to learn about Leif Erikson and Eric the Red, and we're going to hear their importance to Viking history. Okay, boys and girls, before we jump on this ship, let's go over a few vocabulary words that you are going to hear in our read aloud. Get your hands free because we're going to be doing some motions. Our first word is banished. Say banished.
Banished.
Very good. Banished means sent away. And let's do that, boys and girls. Sent away. One more time. Sent away. And a lot of times the Vikings were banished from their homelands. They were sent away and they were not asked to return. Our next word is ferocious. Say ferocious.
Ferocious.
Very good. Ferocious means violent and wild. Let's do a motion with that, boys and girls. Violent, wild. Very good. And we have a picture here of a ferocious Viking warrior. They were very ferocious, Miss Quinn, even though we don't look very ferocious, do we?
Miss Julie.
Yes.
I think we're doing all of these motions with the vocabulary words and these treacherous waves. I think I'm gonna
take my
Viking hat off so I
can. Go ahead, Miss Quinn. I wouldn't want those waves to knock it off. Our next word, boys and girls, is fjords. That's a funny looking word there. Say fjords.
Fjords.
Very good. A fjord is a narrow strip of water. Let's put a motion with that. A narrow strip of water. One more time, boys and girls. Narrow strip of water. The Vikings had to travel through many fjords and valleys to get to where they were going. Our next word is glaciers. Say glaciers.
Glaciers.
Very good. Glaciers are large sheet of ice. It's getting cold in here. Let's put a motion with that. Large sheets of ice. One more time. Large sheets of ice. You know, Miss Quinn, I'm glad we didn't run into any glaciers during our previous trip.
I am too.
Our next word is plundered. Boys and girls, say plundered.
Plundered.
Very good. Plundered means stolen or taken. Let's put a motion. Stolen or taken. One more time. Stolen or taken. Kind of like a robber in the middle of the night. You know, the Vikings, they plundered a lot of goods when they raided different countries. And our last word is raids. Boys and girls, say raids.
Raids.
Very good. Raids are sudden attacks, and sometimes they even happen in the middle of the night. Let's put a motion with that. Attack, attack, attack. One more time. Attack, attack, attack. And you know what, Miss Quinn?
What?
The Vikings, they were known for their raids. They raided many countries. All right, boys and girls, and before I'm going to take this off too, Miss Quinn, those treacherous waves are going to knock it down. Boys and girls, as we get started, before we set sail on this ship to Scandinavia, I want to know, is there anything that you already know about the Vikings? I'm sure you've heard a thing or two. Boys and girls, is there anything that you know? What about you, Miss Quinn? Is there anything that you already know about the Vikings?
Oh, Miss Julie, I bet the boys and girls are probably saying the Vikings love to fight. They went on raids. I bet they love to fight.
Very good. And is there anything else? We've added that to our chart. Miss Quinn, is there anything else you could think of?
I bet they travel by ship.
Oh, good clue that I gave you this morning, because I told you don't get seasick. Boys and girls, they did travel by ship. Very good. And boys and girls, you may be like me and have a few more questions. What do you want to learn from this lesson? What do you want to get out of it? I know I'm thinking, who really were the Vikings? I need to know a little bit more. So we're going to add that to our chart. Miss Quinn, is there anything else that you want to learn from our lesson?
I bet the boys and girls are thinking, wondering, where did they live? Where did the Vikings live?
Okay, and what life was like for them. I'm glad we added that to our chart. And boys and girls, by the time we finish, we're going to be able to come back to our chart and we're going to add exactly what we learned. All right, boys and girls, hold on tight, listen carefully, because we're going to discover who were the Vikings. As we're reading the story, if you hear a vocabulary word that we discussed, put the motion with it. Okay, boys and girls? Here we go. Who were the Vikings? Here we go. A long time ago, more than 1,000 years in the past, the Vikings were the lords of the seas. Vikings were famous as ferocious warriors who were feared by people because of their seaborne raids. Vikings were an important part of a Norse civilization that also had farmers, fishermen, shipbuilders, craftsmen, traders, explorers, settlers, and poets. As you heard earlier, the Vikings came from a part of the world we now call Scandinavia. To the north, the Scandinavian peninsula is bordered by the Arctic Ocean. To the west is the Norwegian Sea. And to the south is the Baltic and the North Sea. These seas were part of the North Atlantic Ocean. As you can see, the Vikings were surrounded by water. Miss Quinn, now you know why we had to jump on this ship.
Yes.
The Vikings traveled westward across the Atlantic Ocean to North America and eastward to Russia and beyond. They even traveled as far as Persia, which is called Iran today. They left a deep imprint on many parts of Europe and surrounding islands, and they established settlements in Iceland, Greenland, and Vinland, which is now called Newfoundland. Some of those places still bear the names they were given by the Vikings more than 1,000 years ago. And boys and girls, on our map here, you can see the Viking homeland, the Scandinavia, and then you can see the areas where they traveled, Iceland, Greenland, and Vinland. Viking expansion was made possible by their magnificent longships. The longships are icons of the Viking Age. The sight of longships struck fear into the hearts of others, but they were highly valued by the Vikings, who celebrated the ships in poetry, gave them as gifts, and even used them in funeral rituals. Oh, we have a question. Boys and girls, we've been on this sea for a while. Can you tell me what kinds of foods do you expect people to eat that live near the sea? You know, Miss Quinn, we don't have Kroger's right down the road. So what do you think that they ate?
I bet the boys and girls are thinking that the Vikings probably ate lots of fish and seafood.
I bet you're exactly right, Miss Quinn. And boys and girls, did you say fish? Because if you did, you're correct. The exact causes of the Viking expansion during this time remain mysterious. Some possible reasons include the following: competition for resources, the lure of wealth and resources in Europe and other places, an increasing number of people in need of more food, changes with rulers, warfare, and a desire to win fame and fortune. What we know for certain is that the Vikings used their magnificent longships and other types of ships you will learn about to explore, trade, raid, and invade new lands. When the Vikings first ventured away from Scandinavia in their longships, they raided and plundered foreign settlements, terrifying the local inhabitants. Vikings were also called Norsemen, which means Northmen. This came from people they raided who were living in England and other parts of Europe. After these raids, the Vikings returned home again with their plundered goods. Over time, however, the Vikings began to settle in and sometimes conquer the lands they had raided and plundered. The Vikings or Norsemen began regular raids on Ireland, England, and other parts of Europe, including present-day Spain, France, Germany, and Russia. Viking warriors were known to kill without mercy and would steal anything of value, including people who could be used as slaves. And boys and girls, on this map, Miss Quinn, if you'll back up one for me.
Okay.
Very good. Boys and girls, on this map, you will see on the key in the bottom corner, the lime green were the most current or the most raided countries that the Vikings took place in. Okay, Miss Quinn, we're ready. And we have a little question time. Boys and girls, can you recall another name for these ferocious Vikings? Were you listening, boys and girls? I bet you know. Miss Quinn, what do you say?
I think they were called Norsemen, which is men from the north.
Very good, boys and girls. If you said Norsemen, you were exactly correct. They were men from the north. However, Vikings didn't just raid and steal, they also traded. Their cargo ships carrying items from their home like fish, furs, timber, walrus ivy and hides, and woolen cloth sailed on major rivers across Europe and into Russia. They traded these items for silver or for things they did not have in their homeland. Did you know that the Vikings set foot in what is now called North America long before Christopher Columbus did? As you heard earlier, after sailing to Iceland, the Vikings traveled all the way to the large island of Greenland and then to the much smaller island of Vinland, which is now called Newfoundland. Newfoundland is part of the North American country of Canada. These Vikings were able to sail to these faraway places because they were such expert shipbuilders and navigators. To start at what most historians believe is the beginning, a Norwegian chieftain named Ingolfur Artnarsson, who would have just been called Ingolf, and his family left Norway and became the first known Viking settlers in Iceland. Although the interior of Iceland is mountainous and contains glaciers, the coastal area is good for farming. Ingolf and his family decided that life would be better for them in Iceland than in their homeland, Norway. Before long, many other Vikings settled in Iceland too. At a farmstead known as Reykjavik was established. One such settler was a man named Thorvald Asvaldsson. Thorvald had been banished from Norway for committing a murder, so he traveled with his family to live in Iceland. Question time, boys and girls. We heard a vocabulary word there. I hope you were listening, did your motion. What is the meaning of the word banished? Banished. Remember our motion? Boys and girls, can you help me out? What is the meaning of the word banished? Miss Quinn, I'm going to give you a few hints here. Loved, tired, sent away, ferocious. What would you say, Miss Quinn, if you were banished from a country?
I bet the boys and girls are saying banished means sent away.
Very good. You are exactly correct. The word banished means sent away and not expected to return. Thorvald had a son who went by the name Eric the Red. Eric the Red was born in Norway, but because of his father's banishment, he grew up in Iceland. As an adult, Eric the Red was also convicted of murder and banished from Iceland for 3 years. Eric sailed west from Iceland. On his voyage, Eric the Red came to a huge yet little-known island that he later named Greenland. During his banishment, Eric the Red spent several years exploring Greenland, identifying good settlement sites. Although much of Greenland is covered in ice, parts of the southwest, with deep fjords, valleys, and rivers, proved to be good for Norse farming and settlement. We are told that Eric called this new place Greenland in the hope that the name would encourage people to settle there. Not long after settling in Greenland, the Vikings began to wonder what was farther west. Eric the Red's son, Leif Erikson, was one such person. Leif had once heard about a land to the west of Greenland from another sailor. Eventually, Leif set off in search of this land. As a result of his travels, Leif Erikson became recognized as the first known European to set foot in what was later called North America, establishing a settlement that Leif named Vinland, and that today is called Newfoundland. Leif discovered that there were already people living in Newfoundland, the Inuit. The Inuit were not pleased with having intruders. Leif's lack of supplies and the threats from the indigenous groups caused Leif and his men to leave Newfoundland. On his return to Greenland, Leif rescued a shipwrecked Viking crew and was given all the riches in the ship's cargo, earning him the nickname Leif the Lucky. Miss Quinn, were you hoping to come into some riches today on this voyage?
I wasn't expecting that.
Much of what we know about the Vikings was handed down to each generation in the form of sagas, or narratives, told by poets we called skalds. Skalds were given the task of celebrating the achievement of kings, chieftains, and warriors. A skald was a historian who shared tales of war and preserved family history. In addition to passing on their history, poets told about the Viking gods. As you heard earlier, the Viking people had their own mythology to explain the happenings of the world. In Norse mythology, Asgard was the home of the gods, and it was there that Odin, the ruler of Asgard, and his queen Frigga lived. There were many gods in Asgard, but perhaps the most famous one was Odin's son, Thor. Inside Asgard was Valhalla, a place where Vikings went if they had fought and died bravely in battle. It was considered a great honor to go to Valhalla. 540 doors opened up into the palace, and through each door, 800 Viking warriors could walk side by side. Vikings also believed in the power of magic. They believed in giants, ghosts, zombies, dwarfs, elves, trolls, and dragons. The Vikings believed in good spirits and bad spirits. The Viking Age lasted around 500 years and over time came to an end as the Vikings went on fewer and fewer raids to other lands. Their dragon-headed longships filled with ferocious Viking warriors, eventually stopped sailing across the oceans. Boys and girls, even though the Viking Age ended, the Norse people continued on and still exist today. They are known as Danes, Swedes, Norwegians, Icelanders, and Greenlanders. Although the Viking Age did not last as long as other civilizations, its Norse sagas and mythology forever remain with us, allowing us to learn more about the Vikings' culture, history, culture, and tales of adventure. Woo, Miss Quinn, you still holding on over there?
I'm still here.
We've almost reached Scandinavia.
Yay.
All right, boys and girls, we have a few questions for you, and then we're going to move right on to some of our word work. Here we go. Question number 1. Who were the Vikings? We learned a lot about them.
Who were the Vikings?
Miss Quinn, what would you say?
The Vikings were the lords of seas.
Ooh, very good. They were. They were known as the Lord of the Seas. All right, boys and girls, here's our second question. How did living by the sea influence the Viking people's lives? They spent a lot of time on that water, boys and girls. Miss Quinn, what would you say?
I bet the boys and girls are probably saying they fished and relied on the sea for food.
Very good. They had to do a lot of traveling
They
too,
did,
Miss
yes,
Quinn.
and they probably sailed so that they could explore, trade, raid, and even settle.
Very good. You're exactly right. Boys and girls, why did the Vikings leave Scandinavia to settle in other lands? They didn't stay there long. Why would they leave? Miss Quinn, what would you say?
Boys and girls, are you thinking there probably were not enough resources? Probably to escape conflict?
Yes.
Are you thinking that? I think so.
Good job, boys and girls. Okay, boys and girls, we're going to do a little bit of word work as we finish up our lesson here. Our word is ferocious. Remember, ferocious meant wild and violent. I'm going to give you a few pictures, and I want you to tell me, is it a picture of something ferocious or is it not? Here we go. Our first picture, a soft, cuddly kitten. Boys and girls, would you say it's ferocious or not? Miss Quinn?
Not ferocious.
Very good. Not ferocious. Our next picture. Ooh, there's that Viking warrior looking pretty rough with his fighting sword in his hand. Boys and girls, would you say ferocious or not ferocious?
I bet the boys and girls are saying, ooh, ferocious.
Very good. Our next picture, oh, a sweet little school teacher. And boys and girls, I know you're missing your school teacher. Would you say she's ferocious, Miss Quinn?
No, not ferocious.
Not at all. And our last picture, ooh, a grizzly bear. Ferocious or not ferocious?
I bet they're saying, ooh, ferocious.
I bet so. And y'all did a great job with our word ferocious. Okay, and we're going to end up this lesson with our KWL chart. We're going to quickly add what we learned today. Boys and girls, I hope you learned a lot from our Viking lesson. Miss Quinn, would you like to add something to our chart of what you learned?
Yes, Miss Julie. I would like to say that I learned that the Vikings were known as the lords of seas.
Very good, and we've added that to our chart. And what else, Miss Quinn?
The Vikings were from Norway, Sweden, and Denmark.
Absolutely. All right, boys and girls, we're getting ready to park this ship. I hope you had a great time with us today.
Thank you for joining us today. All rights and credits from this lesson belong to Core Knowledge Language Arts. We would like to thank them for publicly sharing these materials.
Boys and girls, Miss Quinn, I hope you enjoyed our trip to Scandinavia and to learn all about the Vikings. Share what you learned today with someone at home. But remember, don't be ferocious. We enjoyed it, boys and girls, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.